This is our web-based console that you would have access to. It's HTML5 built. And so as you come in here, you can custom brand this. So right now it has the look and feel of Airwatch, our color scheme, our logo, but it can have your color scheme and your logo, as can the content locker, that self-service portal I mentioned, the app catalog. So a lot of the employee-facing applications as well can be custom branded so that it looks and feels like your infrastructure. So a couple really key differentiators for us. I mentioned before the multi-tenancy. So that's really over here what this looks like, where you can really drill down and be granular in how you assign these different policies. And what we do is we couple that multi-tenancy with our roles-based access. So you see right now I'm set up as the main device administrator. And you can set up as many administrator roles as you want. But right now as the main device administrator, I can see every device in the entire environment. I have access to all the different menu options, so I can really change the environment. But if you want to have different, like a Tier 1 help desk, you know, when they log into the console, their console will look totally different than when I'm logged in as the main device administrator. So when they log in, all they can see is this one group of users, this executive level group, and they can only have management over that group of devices as well. And they only have, you know, they have a limited menu options that they have the ability to. So certainly if you have multiple locations, whether in North America or across the world, you know, somebody in an Atlanta office may only need to manage the Atlanta devices, and somebody out in like a New York office may just need to see and manage those devices. So from our console, we have the ability to set up different administrators for the different things you're looking to do. And then from a dashboard here, you can customize this, but you can only see what's going on in your environment. You know, out of my devices, how many are corporate owned, how many are employee owned when I'm looking here. What different platforms are enrolled into the environment at any given time. You know, how many Android, how many Apple do I have? And then if I scroll down here on a one-off basis, I can see a specific device and see, you know, what platform they're running, what version of that platform, what even kind of device it is, and some information on that user. We also have our Airwatch Hub. And from here, we've given the administrator easy access to critical information they might want to know. And so when you log in here, you can see, okay, you know, out of the devices, what's the breakdown? What's the enrollment history over the past day, week, month? You know, information that, you know, you might typically have to go dig around for, we've given to you here right onto your front page. You know, from a compliance perspective, how many non-compliant devices do I have? What's the top violated policy? So just some quick information. And from here, you can actually go click on the given device, you know, like on applications, you know, how many have this Airwatch email client on the device. So you can actually go in there and see, you know, which users it actually is. From an applications perspective as well, some good information on what's the most installed application my users have on their device. You know, what devices are without the latest content version. So if you want to ensure that somebody has the latest version of a piece of content, here it'll let you know who those users are. You can click on here, go directly, and send a message to that group of users. So just a great way to get some quick information. We've got customers, they log in here first thing, spend 5 minutes, and they already know what's going on in their environment for that given day. So as we go through the interface here, a couple different dashboards, email management. So I mentioned before, kind of giving you, you know, total visibility into what users are trying to gain access to your email information. So you have a separate dashboard dedicated just to that, where you can see, you know, what users are getting access to email, or maybe how many are blocked from getting email, and it'll give you a reason that they're blocked. Maybe they're not enrolled, or maybe it's a blacklisted device. So whatever that is, we give you that information here in a separate dashboard. So now we'll jump in. How do we build out these policies and profiles to get the information or you know, information down to the devices? So simply, you know, it's just drop-down menus and click boxes. So a nice, easy interface here to add these profiles, you know, very quickly. You can see they're going to be platform specific. So, you know, we're able to manage anything from an Android all the way down to Windows PC, Windows 8 or RT, Windows Mobile, ruggedized devices. We're able to manage those as well. So I'm going to have different capabilities on different device types. So we'll just walk through some very common and quick ones for an iOS device, where we can see that we can quickly configure and push down a passcode policy. But for any of these policies over here, you have some flexibility on you know, how you assign these. So you can set a minimum operating system that policy is going to go to. We can set up a different policy for iPad versus iPhone. Again, we can send out a policy based on whether it's a corporately owned device or it's an employee-owned device. And then again, here's where the multi-tenancy really comes into play here, where we can say, we want this certain policy to go to either the whole organization, so it'll go to this entire group, or we just want it to go to this specific group of users right here. And so we could come in here and build one for this group, and then come right behind it and build a totally separate policy for this group here. So simply jumping in here, common ones, configuring a passcode. So as an admin, very easy to quickly come in here and say, yes, we want to require a passcode, and then we give you some options on what's the minimum length of that. Or do we want to add complex characters in there, and then just quickly saving and publishing, and then that policy will push out to the users. We have the ability to restrict certain native functionality on the device. So maybe we don't want to allow FaceTime or iMessage, or camera while we have access to corporate resources. We can block iCloud backup here, so they can't go take a corporate device and go sync it up with their personal iCloud account. From an enablement perspective, we can come in here and configure Wi-Fi for the users. So you simply, as an admin, can go in here, put in the Wi-Fi information, keep it a hidden network, and push that information out to the device, so they don't have to go in there and put that information in for themselves. Same idea here for VPN. So if you guys utilize VPN for really anything here, we can sync up with the different clients, and you can push those out to the users, right here over the air, configure it for them. From an email perspective, again, you don't have to build an email profile or policy for each individual user. If we're synced in or tied to AD, we can utilize these lookup values and configure the email specific to that user by you building out just one email policy here as we're integrated in, let's say, to your Exchange environment. You put your host information in there, we're integrated to it, that user enrolls, they put in their AD credentials, and we pull these lookup values and configure their email specific on their device. So very quick and easy to push these policies and profiles out. And then once you have these profiles in place, how do you manage to ensure that your users and their devices are compliant? You don't want to have to constantly be in the environment. So what we built out is a very robust compliance engine where you can build a general set of rules, and then Airwatch will monitor those. So as a user enrolls, we'll go through the different compliance rules and compliance checks on that given device, and then we'll take action based on the action you want us to take. So, a great example is, let's say you build a blacklist of applications. Facebook, or there's 10 applications that you don't want on the device. We'll go through and scan that device upon enrollment. If we detect that Facebook's on there and it's a blacklisted application, we can then go in and take action on them based on what you tell us to do. And this is all fully automated, so you don't have to do any of this. So we could maybe at first we just notify them and say, hey, sending an email or an SMS or a push notification down to the device, letting them know they have a blacklisted application and it's Facebook. And then after a certain amount of time, we can have, really an escalated approach to get them back into compliance. So maybe after a certain amount of minutes or hours or days that blacklisted application is still on their device, we can then start to restrict some of their corporate access. So maybe we go in here and we block their email infrastructure or their email profile. So now they no longer have access to corporate emails. So you can see from here, you can work with your end users to ensure they're compliant and their device is getting the information they need, but they're also not, getting any information on their device that you don't want to have on there. So again, this can all be assigned based on group again. So you can have a totally separate set of compliance policies and rules for, let's say, your executive level group versus maybe your admin level group. Then as we keep working through here, we'll go through applications. So what does it look like from an administrative perspective to over-the-air push applications and make them available to the end user? So again, we can do all this based on what group they're in. So we can push an app to the entire organization, or we can come in here and say, we want to just push an app to the North American group because it's just an app that pertains to them. So very simple to add applications. If you have internal apps, you can upload them into here and then push those internal apps out to the devices, as well as searching the different public app stores, uploading those apps to the console, and then pushing them out to the users. So, simply coming in here, let's say we want to search the iTunes store for a certain application. We can go in here, we can search whatever application it is, CNN, click Next, and then we can simply quickly add that application here, and then go right behind it and add a new application. So. Very easy to do here. From a purchasing perspective, if you buy bulk of licenses, maybe you buy 100 app licenses for a certain app that you want to push out to your organization, you're gonna get that order file from, let's say, from Apple. You can upload that order to the Airwatch console and then have full management lifecycle capabilities over that. So you can see that I purchased 318 of a given app. Only 49 have been redeemed. I still have 269 of these licenses to be redeemed. So it's going to kind of give you that full life cycle management over those applications. And then as we come down here, we can build different groups and categories of applications. So before I talked about building a blacklist of groups, so you can come in here and build, hey, these are required applications, or you can whitelist a group of applications, or you can, blacklist a group of applications, and you can make them platform specific as well. So some more granularity on how you assign different applications. You make sure that the right applications are used. We can also geofence applications, so it's only available within a certain geographic radius. So some different things you can do here with applications. Also, as I mentioned before, the ability to utilize our software development kit as you build internal applications and getting that MDM functionality built into it. Or for existing apps that you already have in place, we have app wrapping where you can get some advanced security features on an application, like forcing the user to put in a PIN before they gain access to that application. From a content management perspective, so utilizing that secure content locker application I mentioned before, so that the employees can get access to any content you want to make available to them, right on their mobile devices. So again, simply uploading content on a one-off basis, upload it here into the console and then push it out. Or an easier way is for us to integrate to any sort of back-end content repositories that you might have in place. So you can see here whether it's a network share or corporate SharePoint or Google Drive or Office 365. We can integrate directly to those and have dynamic connections so that as you make updates to, let's say, your corporate SharePoint, that as the end user enrolls into the content locker, it's going to notice that it's dynamic, as I mentioned, and so the latest versioning of that is going to be available to them. So they can be on the go and get the content that they need, but it's in a secure manner. In terms of telecom management, mentioned this before, having the abilities to help with some bill shock, making sure users don't go over their data plan. So we could set up a compliance rule that says, hey, when an end user reaches 80% of their data plan for a month, you can notify them of that. Or maybe you can wipe their device and pull off the corporate resources that are on that device. So it's going to be a separate dashboard for you to go in here and see that. And you can actually go in and configure your specific telecom plan, put in a voice limit, a message limit, and a data limit, even put in your peak time interval. And then again, we can utilize our compliance engine to manage up against that to ensure that users aren't going over, let's say, on a data plan. And then in terms of system settings and the different flexibility that we give you on how to manage through some of this. So from a privacy perspective, we talked about BYOD and being able to manage devices differently based on ownership. As an admin, we give the ability to manage, let's see here, you see this column's corporate dedicated, whereas this one's employee owned. So you have options here on, we want to collect and display this information, or maybe we want to collect it but we don't want to display it anywhere, or maybe we just flat out don't want to collect that information at all. So you can come in here and see that, for corporate dedicated devices, we're going to collect and display that information. Or for the employee-owned devices, we're not even going to collect GPS information at all. So you have some flexibility here on, we don't want to track telecom, or like I mentioned before, personal applications. So on an employee-owned device, you're only going to have visibility and management capabilities over the applications that you've pushed from the console. And then here, like, we can't do a full device wipe on an employee-owned device. So that's going to save a lot of heartache that the administrator can't even on accident do a full wipe on a device and wipe somebody's corporate information or corporate content, or personal content, excuse me. So jumping back in here to the dashboard, we'll drill down into a device here to give you a feel for some visibility that you have into anybody's given device. So if I come in here, I can grab an iPad and take a look into it and see that remotely over the air, I've got these different capabilities where I can query the device for information. I can remotely clear a passcode, send a message down to a device. I can remotely lock it, enterprise wipe it, which is going to be that selective wipe, or I can do a full factory reset on a device if I need to. I can find the device and locate it on a map, and it'll pull it up and give me GPS tracking. It'll give me their last known location. It'll also breadcrumb it if you want it to and give you, where's the device been over the last month. I've got some settings for cellular here where I can enable or disable roaming settings. We've got some remote view capabilities, so we can remote view into anything that has our SDK built into it. So if you have internal apps that are SDK, we can remote view into it to see what that end user was actually seeing on their device. And then we can sync a device if we need to as well. And then you can see here from a summary page, is the device been compromised? And for compromised, we mean jailbroken or rooted. Certainly you don't want any devices that have been jailbroken or rooted gaining access to your network. We can see, different things. Is a passcode present? Some network information. Is it roaming? What's the status of it? And then we can go in here and drill down into compliance. So if there was any issues with some of those compliance rules, we could see, hey, when was the last check? What compliance rule is being broken? We can see the different profiles that are associated with a given device. So, what does this user have a Wi-Fi profile or an email profile pushed down to their device? And we can install or remove those profiles remotely. What applications are on a given device, so we can see, hey, it's a public app or it's an internal app or whatever it may be. We can install and remove those applications from here. What content is associated with a given user specific to them, we can remove that content. If we're integrated with certificates, we can come in here, we can revoke or renew or issue certificates right from the console over the air. Again, we can get location on a given device. Where has it been? Where was it last known? Or we can go back in here and breadcrumb, where's this device been over the last month? And then I mentioned our event log before, where we can, pull information and see when a user enrolled, when they installed a certain application. And all of this information can be exported out, so for archiving purposes, or if you have a third-party system that you utilize for any of this information, you can export it out to that. And then we can do some of these capabilities on our bulk management. So we can grab a group of devices, again, back to this multi-tenancy, a specific group of devices, or we could say I want to grab all my Android devices, or I want to grab all my iOS devices. I can come in here and grab a group of devices and come in here and I can lock a group of devices, or I can enterprise wipe a group of devices. Or more commonly, maybe I want to send a message down, to these 5 devices, or I want to pull 5 devices up on a common map and see where they are at any given time. You have the ability to do that directly from the console. So that's really it from a console perspective. Obviously, you can see nice menu options, reporting capabilities, so you can subscribe to different reports. Like I mentioned before, have them automatically emailed to you, certain day, certain time. So you might need different reports than another admin might. So that's when the roles-based access comes in nice. So different admins can subscribe to different reports. And we have, I think, close to 100 now canned reports that are already in here. We can come up with custom reports that make more sense for your business if needed. A couple other things I wanted to show. I mentioned the self-service portal before. So this is going to be basically a custom interface for each specific user, where they can see the different devices that they have enrolled. And you can limit the menu options that you give them. Right now we have it set up so that you can see everything that's available to them, but they can come in here and basically have management over their own device, where they can query a device, they can clear their passcode. We see this a lot. So somebody, locks himself out by, they can't remember the passcode and they went through it 10 times and now they're locked out. Now they can go in here and clear their own passcode and reset it up without having to call into the IT help desk. We've also seen, somebody loses their device, they're embarrassed about it, they don't want to call into the IT department. They can actually remotely then go into their self-service portal, maybe lock their device or enterprise wipe their device. I've seen an executive customer of mine who had his iPhone and his iPad. He was on a plane. He left his iPhone on the plane, and he realized it when he got to baggage claim. So what did he do? He grabbed his iPad, logged into a self-service portal, looked at this screen right here, and was able to then remotely go in and lock it. So he knew that nobody was going to be able to get into that device. So really a lot you can do here. Some of the advanced capabilities that we've introduced is the ability to manage content from here. So again, you're going to be able to sync content from your desktop back down to all of your devices via that secure content locker. So I can go onto my desktop and drag and drop files in and out of here, into here. If I drop it in there, it'll sync up with my device. So if you're on the road, maybe you have a secretary who can go into your self-service portal and drop new content into you to make it available to you, or before you go on your trip, you could go in there and do it yourself, so you have it on your device for your trip. I can also share content with others and collaborate with other users within the organization. So if you wanted to share content with a colleague of yours and he can make an edit to that document and then send it back to you. We can also share content externally. So you could share a link out to somebody, maybe a contractor you have working for you. You can share that content and put a username or password on the link to that content. You can make it available for maybe only 24 hours it's available, or maybe it's only downloadable one time. After that it's not available. So a lot of things you can do here with content. We've also introduced within our content solution in the content locker the idea of editing capabilities. So you can be in your iPad, in that secure content locker application, pull up a Word document, make an edit to it, save it back to your personal content area. So it's kind of like a personal Dropbox or box where it's all tightly integrated into the Airwatch platform, but you have that abilities here to kind of manage your own content, make it available to you, make changes to it. So that's our self-service portal here that, again, can be accessed from virtually any browser remotely. And then here's our internal resources we make available to our customers, and this is going to be through our My Airwatch portal. So a lot of things you can do here. Airwatch Academy, this is like instructor-led training, online videos from our executives or from our technical leaders or even from industry leaders. So you can go through certification programs, you can look through different courses, and you can search them by topic. We have our internal knowledge base called Ask. And from here, as I mentioned before, you can virtually search any resources that I have available to me. So if you have a question on something like, let's say, Android, you can go in here and search Android, and it's going to pull up all kinds of frequently asked questions, documents, videos, really whatever it may be. So that's one way to kind of self-help there if you want to. Again, I mentioned internal announcements, specific documentation, tons of videos here, same-day support for iOS, but if you have a question on BYOD or you want to see a video on BYOD or application management, it's going to be right here at your fingertips. And then as well as having direct information on who do I reach out to if I need help, who's my account executive, who's my account manager, and it'll give you very quick access to your Airwatch support person here, whether you want to email into them or call into them and to get help. So a lot of resources available to you, whether you like to do it on your own or whether you like to call in and get support. All the different capabilities are here for given users.